This is a special request to sketch something of the nature of a whipped cream, so I found this on Paxel. Let's go! So whipped cream, huh? What's so special about it? Well, actually nothing much of it. What's important is to note the shadows and basically the cast shadow of the whipped cream. That's basically it. You see later on that I didn't do a very good job with it, but doesn't matter. I was kind of in a rush and I did want to do an example based on whipped cream, also to challenge myself, as well as it was a request from Farmer Fox. Well, the drawing wasn't very good. I was in a hurry, so I thought I kind of mangled the top of the whipped cream. You'll see later it's slant to the right, just like the Tower of Pisa, but it's okay. It's a sketch. Never worry about imperfection, alright? Because imperfection, or rather perfection, is the enemy of good, okay? So I started painting it with a few hues of red. I thrown in Queen Rose, Permanent Alizarin Crimson, a bit of Cadmium Scarlet, a bit of Cadmium Orange, a bit of New Gamboge. You can see the riots of reds in it. It goes really well with the theme because Singapore is celebrating the 56th anniversary of independence, and so yeah, red is the color indeed. Anyway, I drop in a bit of blue too for the shadow, and you can see it's really a riot of color, and it's not exactly realism, but it gives you a sense of red with a huge amount of stripes and shadows. And also remember that if you're not bold enough with your color, you will make a lot of tentative color choices and it will not be good. Colors, watercolor especially, demand that you act bravely. I just put in a layer of shadow at the bottom of the plastic holder of the cupcake, and now I'm going in to put a bit of a shadow underneath the whipped cream. And as you can see, red, blue, purple is the call of the day. I wanted to define the left hand side of the whipped cream with a bit of negative shapes, so I use a slightly darker color of purple, grayed out purple, to define the left hand side negatively. That is, in other words, I didn't paint the whipped cream, I paint behind the whipped cream to make the whipped cream pop. And now I'm going in with a bit of a tinge of Queen Burnt Orange, Queen Gold, yellowy browny sort of thing to define the shadow or cast shadow on the whipped cream itself. Whipped cream is very light color, so all you need to do is just to observe the shadow, observe where there are sharp edges of the shadow and where there are soft edges of the shadow. I put in a bit of purple just to make it a little bit darker. All the time I'm looking at the photograph and I'm just trying to copy where the shadows are, and it's not really a lot of thinking per se. It's just basically observing and putting down how I see it. The top cherry and it's not cherry, it's some kind of a berry, and there's a blueberry as well. So again, I'm just observing the highlight and the pimples on the red berry. So again, I'll be looking at the highlights, I'm looking at the shapes and trying to mimic those two fruits up on top. I strengthen the shadows at the bottom to reflect the shadows, and then I'm also putting in some bits and bobs reflecting the paper cup, if you like. Well, let's take a pause and see where we are at the moment. Alright, so let's continue putting in a bit more of a second layer of darks, putting in where the shadows are stronger, and also covering up on the bottom right of the cupcake where the strongest shadows are. All the time when I'm sketching, either in an urban sketching environment or from photograph, I'm always just carefully observing what I see, and strengthening what watercolor that I didn't put enough pigment, double, triple layers, or maybe using a clean brush to wipe off some of the pigments to make it lighter. Either way, you're trying to create the same contrast of values, as you see with your eyes. It's nothing very complicated actually. So all that you're doing is just mimicking it. There are dots on the cupcake, so I'm basically doing the same thing, going again stronger value on for the shadow part of the whipped cream, and again strengthening the negative shape on the right hand side just to make the cupcake pop, if you like. Again, always go back to the reference and observe. The problem with photograph is that it's flattened. Lots of information is lost. You can't walk around it, you can't see it by going closer, and so information is flattened in many ways. So that's always the reason why urban sketching on site is better than doing it from photograph, because photography is in essence lost information. And so most artists after a while will always prefer to go out and sketch on site. Alright, so where we are, I'm lifting some lights off and putting my name down while I'm trying to wait for it to dry, and also to put a bit of white where I see reflection, highlights that I might have lost, some on the berry as well, some fruits, and I think I'm almost done. It doesn't look right for a couple of reasons. One, the top of the whipped cream slant to the right, as I said early on. Anyway, at this point I'm just softening all the shadow because I think they are too harsh, so I'm just softening it. I see another problem, softening the shadow at the bottom, and so I see another problem. The whipped cream is a little bit more yellowy than I have made it out here, so I will have to go in and do a bit more tinting, basically put a layer of tint. So what I did was I used my favorite quinacridone gold, which is really a yellowy kind of color, and that's what you get at the end. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay safe wherever you are, and Farmer Fox, this one is for you. Thank you for following me through my journey of sketching so far. Bye.